Hey, students, it's Nick. Thank you for all your patience with me. I've been kind of getting your assignments up late lately, and I guess I want to tell you why, because I've kind of adjusted the schedule. And of course, in this video, kind of give you the game plan for the week and some feedback on your previous work. So this is the week 7 video, and let's get into it. So I just got to start with this, and hopefully you'll see this right away. I don't want anyone to miss this. I After a lot of thought and after reading students' surveys that I sent out at the end of Module 1, I've decided to add an extra week to Module 2. And you can see, Module 2 was supposed to be February 27th through 5th, and then we start Module 3 on March 6th. I've decided for two reasons to change this. The first reason is that students' feedback included quite a bit of the comment that, hey, I don't think I felt like I had quite enough guidance on the module project. And I felt that as a teacher, even going into the assignment. I was like, man, I made a useful like do this video, but I never really walked you guys through my expectations as well as I should have, or given you kind of a walkthrough video on how to do an informal essay. I didn't do any of that genre specific help. And so I that's one of the reasons why I wanted to break this into 2 weeks, is we can tackle this as a rough draft, final draft format, and you can get that feedback that way. The second reason is it wouldn't make sense to do explore content and then go on spring break, because that essentially breaks all that initial learning that I'm hoping you get, and it's going to break it from your reflection. So it just doesn't pedagogically make any sense to start right before spring break with explore content. We'll pick it up on March 20th with that explore content. So just I wanted to let you guys know the schedule of this class is changing a bit. We're going to add the share module here to this week, so you'll have 2 weeks for your share. And then at the end of the semester, I'm actually going to get rid of module 5. We'll extend module 4, and we'll end up with a 4 module class rather than a 5 module class. You'll see all that. That'll make sense. I'll send out an updated schedule soon. But let's talk about your Module 2 share project. So I have 2 unread discussion posts. I need to get those done. But Module 2 was a lot of information. I had you guys do the Dick and Jane reader. I gave you all feedback on your discussion posts. You had a quiz. I think you guys did really well on the quiz in general. But you had a ton of information here. The Big 5 video was short, sweet, to the point. As one student put in their question and reflection, it's dummy proof. And I felt the same way as someone who's not a mastered literacy teacher. I really enjoy those videos that make things really easy. And then we did the Soul to Story episode 2 podcast and learned about Marie Clay and the creation of reading recovery. I don't know if anybody is wondering if this is real or not, but my grandma was a reading recovery teacher, and she was completely convinced that it was the only way first grade students learn to read. That was her position, was a reading recovery teacher, and reading recovery did a lot more harm than good. I'm not ashamed to have an opinion on this one. Reading recovery was a very destructive curriculum in the long run, and it only led way to future curriculums that are destructive as well. So hopefully you learned about that in that podcast. Then we had our article on how do kids learn to read by Ed Week. Super long but very informational article, tons of research. And then you had my podcast. So hopefully you got some really good information out of this. I'm looking forward to reading your reflection and question this week, because in a way, I don't think I've really interacted with you guys on the content yet. Learning your opinion on the Dick and Jane reader was really useful to me, and hopefully the feedback I gave you was useful to you. But I'm like, man, I kind of miss the discussion post just being like a summary of everything that kids read. So we'll see. I might do that again. We'll see. Or maybe since I'm getting rid of a module, I'll have you do an extra discussion post or something. You should be done at this point with your reflection and question. It's the 26th at 2:48, and this is, of course, due tonight at midnight. I've graded 3 of them at this point, so that means quite a few of you need to get your work in still, so do that. And then once you finish your reflection and question, you have your research plan for your next week. This is where we're moving forward into a 2-week share segment. As you guys already know from Module 1, you take your reflection and question document, and that becomes your research plan. You complete the research, and then you take all the information that you've learned and you bundle it into a project. And I give you the choices in the rubric here. So as a very quick reminder, I'm not going to repeat everything I said because you can go back to the week 4 video to get all this. You can do a formal essay, an informal essay, a video speech, an audio speech, a video presentation, or a website. I think the best ones that I read last week, and I'm not trying to puff anybody up, I won't say names or anything, but I got a video speech that was just so well done and very, very good. Shout out to you who did the video speech. And then I also just really, really liked some of these informal essays I was getting. Again, I won't say names, but there was a student who did a WordPress website and then very, very thoroughly wrote, all 1,500 plus words about the content and then some research that he did. And it was so good. I ended up taking his name off of it and sending it to a coworker of mine who is a reading interventionist, and she was like freaking out because she was like, "This is so good." So anyway, shout outs to you guys. The informal essay seems to be the most popular genre right now, but don't and I encourage it. I think it's a great way of explaining what you've learned and presenting new information. But yeah, feel free to do these other ones as well. The video speech was awesome. Audio speeches, I got one of those last week. That was great. Website video presentations are good. I mean, we grow up in this education system that puts the formal essay on this pedestal, and then now we're coming out with new technology that can write a formal essay like that. And so I think the formal essay is a dying genre of writing. This stuff over here, these other 5 are going to be way more popular in the next 10 years. I'm going to call it right now. ChatGPT just ruined formal essay writing. So yeah, those are your options. And then your rubric is down here. I grade my work, or I grade your work according to my rubric. And then when I give you feedback, I give you feedback according to the rubric. So I spend a lot of time giving feedback. I average about 15 to 20 minutes of grading per project. It comes out to be quite a few hours of work just giving you guys meaningful feedback. So if you didn't get that email, or you got it, but if you haven't read the email for your Module 1 project, please do that. I really want it to be useful. So you're going to choose your project. You're going to kind of have this ambiguous thing in your brain. You're going to say, "Oh, this is where I started. This is the stuff Nick gave me. Here's my plan. Here's the research I did." And you kind of have this merging of them. And then you're like, "I'm going to put in a project now." So it's kind of ambiguous. And I think this is where some of the difficulty last module came through, was students were like, how do I compile this into a project? I, at one point, was thinking I would do an example for you and make a video of it, like I did with the walkthrough. And then I would email that out. I would post it here. But then I realized if I make an example video, everyone's just going to pick the genre of writing that I did the example video of. So if I do an informal essay, then a lot of you are going to end up doing informal essays. So I'm not going to do an example video. Instead, I'm going to have you do a rough draft. And here's why. I want you to have the opportunity to turn in your rough draft of your work, just like you would have if this was the end of the module, completed all the way through, done. Okay. If it's not perfectly done, that's okay. A rough draft should be close to finished though. You turn it in, and then I give you that rubric aligned feedback that you can then go and make some adjustments and then turn in your final draft right before spring break. That's my plan. And by doing that process this one time, maybe we'll do it again if it goes well. If it doesn't go well, we won't do it again. We'll see. I'm going to learn on our feet here. But by doing that process of turning in a rough draft, getting feedback, making adjustments, returning in the work, I think a lot of you will get really high grades. But more importantly, I think a lot of you will feel better about the flow of this class. That's really my main concern. Grades are important. Grades hopefully measure learning. But really, the hope here is that you would feel good going into Module 3 about the process of the EWS framework, okay? By getting that feedback before you turn in the 50-point assignment, you can say, okay, cool. When I do an informal essay, this is what I should do differently. Oh, when I do a video, this is what I should do differently. Rather than getting it right as the grade, you get the feedback and then you make the changes. So that's the goal. So this is kind of a 2-week overview. This week, you have your reflection and question plan, do your research, do your project, most of it, turn it in, 10 points just for completion. You'll get a feedback email from me early next week, and then you make the adjustments and turn in your final project for Module 2 and get the full points. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. Of course, we're all learning together how this system flows, so hopefully it goes well. I think because I'm dropping a module project, I think it's fair for me to ask a little bit more here. And I'm going to ask you guys to do a discussion post for just how things are going in the class. And I'm going to make it graded. So the feedback survey I gave out after Module 1 was for extra credit. It was optional. This one will actually be graded. So I'll add that here, and I'll give you guys a week 8 video so that you can make sure you got everything done. But so that's the plan for the week. I think I've covered pretty much everything. I don't know what my time is right now, but I want to very, very briefly make a mention about this. If you are writing, if you're doing a formal essay or an informal essay, or really even for whatever project you choose, but especially for writing, I would like you guys to speak a little bit more authoritatively. In discussion posts, in the question and reflection, it's good to write very with self-awareness. Okay, you write, oh, one of the things that I learned during week 4 was blank, blank, and blank, and then I read this in this article and I learned blank, blank, and blank. I appreciate that, and it seems like in general students do that because they want the teacher to know they did the work, and I really do appreciate that. But I want to challenge you guys to just write with a little bit more authority, where the work is less aware of itself as an assignment. And I think the only way I can really explain that is to really just say, try not to mention the work as an assignment. Instead, mention the work as your reflections over content, your own research being motivated by your interests, and your findings being your original findings. For example, if you research let's say you research a first grade reading recovery teacher this week, like my grandma was, rather than saying, in order to complete the project for this course, I interviewed first grade reading recovery teacher Janice Staffolino. She said, da 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 da. Try to just avoid that fluff. Instead, say, based on what I learned from the EdWeek article, not the Module 2 Explore, but based on what I learned from the EdWeek article, I was interested in interviewing a first grade reading recovery teacher, Jan Staffolino. I found da 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 da. I know it's such a subtle difference, but the reason I'm bringing this up is I also teach writing, and I think sometimes kids I guess sometimes you guys cut yourself short. You guys are experts, right? You are smart individuals. you don't need to always let the teacher know you did the work. I know you're doing the work, or most of it. Most of you probably skipped one or two of these if we're being honest. But a lot of you are doing all of the work. And rather than referring to yourself in this way of, I did the work when I did the Module 2 Explore, own it. You're a teacher or someone who's interested in this class. You are learning. That information is yours now, and you can move forward with it authoritatively. I hopefully I explained that okay. I don't know if I explained it that well, but we'll see. Reach out if you have questions. I'm not ever going to dock points on any of this. I'm just more bringing it up that you guys have great things to say, and I want you to be, I want you to feel like you own the knowledge. Okay. All right. So that's my week 7 video. It was kind of long, but hopefully it's useful. We'll get done with the module right before spring break, and you guys can enjoy a week off. And then we'll go from there. Keep up the awesome work, everyone. You guys are really, really crushing it, and I love to see it. I just have a lot of fun reading your work, and hopefully it's fun to make. All right. Let me know if you guys ever need anything. See ya.